Yo, 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 Miss Q, it's your boy Anthony here with Weekly Waspel, Week 12. And I'm here with,
Jen Kelly, as always.
and today we will be reflecting on this gospel. Now, this is actually one of my favorite gospels of all time. But what do you think, Jaden?
Um, I guess it does have a really good message to it. Uh, you can I believe in what you give is given back. It's like what you, karma comes back around, and I would rather it be good karma rather than bad. So that is just my take on it. I hold on.
Don't worry, don't worry.
I just like I see this message a lot, and it kind of becomes repetitive. It's like, again, it's talking about faith again, because she gave like her last expenses to someone who's just asking for them, and then she's having blind faith, throwing what last she has into like this treasury that she doesn't even know what's gonna happen to it. So it for me that kind of feels like a red flag, because like you don't know this guy. I mean, at this point, he kind of proved himself to be like him, but like it seems kind of shady to me. This guy asking for money, who apparently does magic and apparently was the son of God. That seems a bit far fetched to any normal human being now.
Oh, this is, what do you call it? This gospel specifically? She's giving money to,
A treasury. I
yeah,
forget
church.
what it is
It is not a Christian church.
for.
It
I
is
doubt it would
something
be.
else. But what do you call it? I see. What you call it? You saw the literal sense of it, where it was blind faith a lot, right? And
Yeah.
with a lot of the gospels, we see a lot of that, right?
Right. Yeah.
Do you want to add anything on top of that?
Yeah. Yeah. I just get myself back on track here. It it just doesn't make sense to me. Like, I feel as if I need proof, not just blind faith, and I feel like I know a lot of Christians like say like, oh, it's not blind faith because like we know him, but like I don't believe that. Like, do you really know him, or is it just because you've been praying a lot? Then you, I don't know. To me it just feels like blind faith, and from what I can tell, blind faith is never a good idea to follow. Um, but not just this. Um, I feel as if even if you do have like full faith and like, oh yeah, that this is like a good thing to do, you still need to keep at least some money for yourself, because like in the text I believe it said like, oh yeah, this she gave the last of her money to like into this treasury, and it just seems a little like you could have planned that out better. I mean, like, you should keep some money for yourself too. Like there's nothing wrong with like donating on a budget. Like, I guess I can like see like, oh yeah, she was desperate, so like of course she was gonna take that chance. But still, it feels like even if even if you do have full faith and like full belief, then at least have a backup plan. I don't know. That's just my take on
Yeah, don't worry. That's a rational point of view, definitely.
it. Yeah.
Where what do you call it? When looking beyond blind faith, it makes sense, and also I do acknowledge that for Christians, for us, we believe But from your point of view, I do agree it is sort of blind faith. Just definition wise, you know what I mean? Because for other people, there's no proof that I can really show to justify it. So, in a sense, it is blind faith. However, what I really like about this gospel, which I also see from it, is I saw it symbolically in the sense that when acts of charity, or for example, for people who are trying to do good acts in general, such as I took this personally and I've applied it to my life. When doing charity, specifically volunteering and all this sort of thing, monetary donation, just like the woman, she gave what she could, right? And so a lot of people, the rich people, were like shaming her, like, oh my goodness, like 2 cents and all this, what's that gonna do? But it's really not the fact of the amount, but it is the fact of the act. She did it.
It's easy to give when you have much to spare, but it means a lot when you still have.
When you don't have that much.
When you don't have that much, yeah.
I see it more in the sense of a ripple effect where a person who can make such a small little contribution can do so much in a sense of even beyond faith. Like for this one, it has a major faith component, right? Like for example, for the Christian theology, it would be putting what little you have, belief in God, and with God anything is possible, right? Like that's a pretty common like saying inside of Christian speaking. But even inside of just normal different times of life, being able to do a little bit more, for example, like just work for in general, that adds up over time. Mm-hmm. For people, for like what I said with my personal perspective on volunteering, it adds up over time. People who are able to give do good.
It's kind of like starting a bank account. Like you can add a little bit every time. Mm-hmm. And no matter how much you put in there, it's still going to add up over time, and it's going to become something big.
That's a great point of view, because in a rational sense, when you apply this in a non-Christian aspect, it really helps out for you, like not only just like financially, but being able to provide an impact and provide for others, while also in the Christian sense of view, from my personal perspective, because I am a Catholic, it's storing up, quote unquote, like what do you call it, like good acts that we're doing as Christians, what we're called to do good for others.
Right.
So that's a very good point, like a bank. That's a very good metaphor that you just put up right there.
Yay.
That's a good job. Hey, you got anything else to add to that? This is pretty big.
Nothing. I mean, I don't really know. Okay. I've seen a lot of what happens throughout like the Bible, since I've seen a lot of passages and all that. Not because like I've read and studied them myself, but because I've read and studied them in classes. Yeah. And from all the passages I've read, and I don't know if it's just me or like this is just like just me overthinking it, but I've seen that like if they're talking about like successful and like and powerful or like rich people in most Bibles, they're referred to as men.
Oh, okay.
I don't want to go down this road, but at the same time, I want to point it out. In most scenarios, the man is the one that's like powerful and rich, whereas all the
we haven't really seen women, right?
Yeah, and the less fortunate people mentioned in the Bible were labeled as women. Which I found kind of stupid. I mean, I guess I can see like because like, you know, back then the women were like housewives while the men were all like hard workers. They were the ones who made the money. But still, it just seems kind of weird.
Yeah, this is definitely about like political social hierarchy. Definitely, like we have seen at some moments, it's men who are rich. I haven't really seen any moments where what do you call it, like women are rich in this sense. However, inside the Bible, there's a lot of it's not really supported, and what I mean by it, wealth isn't really seen as good sometimes inside of the Bible. That's why there's this contrast between, like, for example, it would be easier for a camel to pass through, like, what do you call it, the pin, rather than for a rich man to get into heaven. Because what do you call it? I'd like to see it as rich, specifically in the Bible, references greed,
That's true.
desires, and all this stuff. And I feel like, while I also recognize that, I also see like what do you call it? There's a saying where something along the lines of poor in something, but then rich in spirit. And I feel like
Poor in finance, but rich in spirit.
yeah, something like that. Poor in like a material sense,
I think.
but rich in spirit. And inside the Bible, that's a good thing because belief, with God, anything is possible, right?
Yeah.
But inside the Bible, but I definitely like will recognize social hierarchy and what you call it, like for example, like patriarchy, for example. Yeah, men are definitely above. So that's how it was back then, and now it's changed over time. But yeah, that's definitely more of a thing about the times, basically.
Right. I think I've run out of things. I think I've run out of questions.
Oh well, that's good.
I'm good.
Okay. Well, that was a nice little week 12 weekly Waspel. Thank you, Miss Q, for listening in, and hopefully you had a great time. And if you want, you could just like let us know in comments on Schoology or anything like that. Okay. Bye, Miss Q.
Bye, Miss Q.